What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with 𝘀𝗿𝗰𝗄 Media, and today I want to talk to you about 3 things that have allowed me to live 3 hours away and only be in my practice 3 days a month. There's a lot of threes in there. So I am here in my practice right now. I'm here 1 week a month on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I live in Chicago. My practice is in Springfield, so it's probably about a 3.5 hour drive between the two. Traffic could turn into a 6-hour drive. But so anyway, what has allowed me to step out of practice and have an associate-driven and a team-driven practice has been a few different things, but these 3 things I think are the most important. So number 1 is just rip the Band-Aid off. Like, if you have made the decision that you want to see patients less, or you want to physically be in the practice less, then you just have to decide you want to do it and do it. Now, that usually means you have to have an associate in place if you're not going to, somebody's got to see the patients to maintain the volume. Some people can go down from 5 days a week down to 4 days a week of adjusting and still see the same volume, which that would be fine. But I think what we're talking about, the reason I'm making this video is because a friend of mine asked if I could get on a call with her and another doctor because she was interested in how I was able to transition out of physically being in the practice while still maintaining the volume and the size of the practice. So that got me thinking, and I was like, this would be valuable to other people. So that was kind of the impetus for the creating of the video. But what I told her on the phone today, actually, when I was talking to her, I said, the biggest thing is you just have to decide to do it. So I've always just kind of once I've made the decision, I don't always wait to when you're probably supposed to. I just go ahead and do it, and then I kind of try to figure it out, kind of fixing the plane as it's flying. So when I bought my first practice, the guy offered to sell it to me. I'd been in practice for 2 months, and he offered to sell it to me, and it was a good deal. But I didn't have the money, and the SBA was going to take probably 2 months before I could actually get the funds. And I didn't want him to change his mind, and I was buying the accounts receivables, so every day that went by was going to be less money that I was collecting. And so my dad, thank God for him, my dad went and got a second mortgage on his house so that I could get the money the next day. Bought the practice the next day, started being profitable right away. Same thing with his, and I paid my dad back once I got the SBA money. But then same thing with getting associates. I was seeing 40 people a week in one practice and 30 people a week in another practice, and I put associates in both practices just so that we could be full-time. But most people would say, oh, Nick, you should wait, take your time, get up to 100 and then 200 and then hire somebody. And it's that would have taken forever. I wasn't figuring that out. So I was I need to get somebody now because I know I can't do it on my own. And then when I decided to stop seeing patients altogether, I hired my second doctor, my second associate, when me and the first associate were seeing 75 a week. So I just knew that if I could grow my practice 30% from 1 year to the next, from 2010 to 2011, because 2011 was the first year I didn't see patients. I said, if I could grow 30%, I'll make the same amount of money without having to see any of the patients, which I thought was a pretty good deal. So that year we grew 38%. The next year we grew, I think, 32%, and the next year we grew 30%. So the point of this is that sometimes you just gotta do it. Right. So when I decided to move to Chicago, my girlfriend lives in Chicago. She's an attorney, so she has to physically be there because she has to go to court. I can do my stuff from wherever. So we had started 𝘀𝗿𝗰𝗄 in 2017, and we had set a date for July for me to move up there. And my marketing director, who lived here in Springfield, her husband got relocated to Chicago. So in May. So I was like, oh, this is just as good a time as any. So I just moved up a little bit early. So we both moved up to Chicago in May, got an office, kept going with 𝘀𝗿𝗰𝗄, and here we are today. But the just deciding that I was going to no longer physically be in the practice, that was the thing that made it happen. And then when I just did it, we just figured it out. I was kind of lucky because I hadn't seen patients in the office for 6 years at that point. So they weren't used to me treating patients, so it wasn't as big of a shock, because the things that I did when I was physically there were the same things that I could do, via Zoom or on my own. So you have to, you don't have to like physically move away from the practice, but if you want to be gone more, or if you just want to do a different role within the practice, you just need to just make the decision and do it. The second most important thing was creating leadership qualities in my team and in my staff. So making sure that they don't have to be the leader of the practice, because you're always going to be the leader of the practice, but being leaders within the things that they control, being leaders at the front desk, being leaders in our training facility, being leaders in the massage area, being leaders as the lead chiropractor or as the main associate. So those things, everybody can be leaders at certain points, in their lives, and making sure that you're developing that in your staff, I think, is just super important. So if you've been to great conferences, or if you have read great books or like training programs online, anything that has helped fill up your cup when it comes to leadership, being able to share that with your staff is gonna pay for itself in dividends, because they'll always know that, and they appreciate it when you tend to invest in them. And if you're in any kind of coaching group, the offices that I see do the best are the ones that bring their teams with them, and they're all doing it together, and then they go back on fire back to the practice, as opposed to what I always did in practice, which was go to the seminar by myself, come back with like this crazy look in my eye, and the staff was just like ready to fight as soon as I walked through the door, because they knew I'd have 4 new ideas that they weren't 100% sure that they were going to want to do. So developing that leadership in your team is super important. And then third is going to be having marketing in place that you aren't dependent on the doctors to do. So if any of you have ever heard of the Remarkable CEO with Stephen Franson and 𝘃𝗃𝗄𝗏, basically teaches chiropractors to get out of having a job into owning a business, and how to scale a practice. And what they always talk about is there's 3 types of associates. There's the race car. So these are going to be the business builders. These are going to be the ones that want to do it on their own. You can get them as an associate, especially like fresh out of school, but they're probably only going to stay around for a year or 2 before they get the itch to go do this on their own. They're great. They can definitely help you grow your practice in the short term, but then eventually you're going to need to replace them with someone else. The next is the SUV, or I'm sorry, the other end of the spectrum is the pickup truck. The pickup truck is going to be, just somebody who all they want to do is adjust. They barely even want to do day 1 and day 2. They definitely don't want to be out there like networking or doing lunch and learns or any of the practice building side of it. They just want all that to be done for them, but they're great caretakers. They'll stay with you as long as, you're willing to have them. The ones that I like are in the middle. Stephen and Pete call these they call them SUVs. So the SUV is going to be somebody who's got a little bit of both. They're able to do the practice building stuff. They don't love it, but they're definitely willing to do it. They're capable of doing it, and then they're great adjusters and they're great caretakers as well. But they can get out there and they can start to like basically build their own practice within your practice. And these also can stay forever. And I think that's really the best situation. But having your marketing in place so that you're not dependent on associates building your practice for you, because I think that no matter where you are, whether you're physically there or not, it's your responsibility to make sure that there's new people coming in, that there's training happening so that the associates are converting well and retaining people well, having other streams of revenue. But the marketing piece, I think, is probably the biggest piece that allows me to have the freedom of location that I do, because we're able to do most of our marketing through digital means. We still do a lot of on the ground stuff, but again, I'm managing a marketing department from Chicago that happens to be here in Springfield, so that we can do all the boots on the ground stuff that we need to do as well. So chiropractors, I think the vast majority of them coming out of school would much rather just treat patients and not have to worry about marketing and have somebody else worry about that for them. I think if there was a chiropractic hospital where they paid chiropractors $150,000 a year to just see patients, that they'd have, 100,000 resumes in the span of about 24 hours. People always talk about how entrepreneurial chiropractors are, and I just don't believe that. I think that some are. I think that just like some people love doing, like with us, with marketing, we're a done-for-you service, but some people are never going to hire us because they love it themselves. They love doing it. They love figuring it out. They love going to the marketing seminars. And same way with entrepreneur, that's probably 10% of the profession. Same way with the like natural born entrepreneurs that become chiropractors, it's probably like 10, maybe 20% of the profession. The other ones that think they're entrepreneurs, they're just entrepreneurs because they own a corporation or an LLC, but they still see all the patients. They're not running it like a business. So I don't know really how entrepreneurial, I don't think chiropractors are any more entrepreneurial than other professions. I just think that we're forced into it because there just aren't that many offices that are big enough to support multiple associates. There's no big hospital for us. There's nothing in government that they can go do. So I think that most would much prefer just being able to see patients, just being able to be the doctor. So if you are that entrepreneurial spirit, if you are trying to run a business, it gives you a real opportunity, because most chiropractors just don't want to do the stuff that you love doing. So hope this was helpful for you guys. If you do need some help with the marketing side of it to help get you out of practice, let us know. That's what we do. But hope you got some value out of this. I know that there's a lot of chiropractors out there, especially that have been in practice about where I'm at, like maybe 10, 15 years, that really want to like start having a little bit more of a lifestyle, or maybe they've got another interest that they're looking to pursue, and they want to keep the revenue coming in from the practice, but they don't want to have to do it all themselves. Hopefully this gave you some insight. If I can help you in any way, let me know. Drop a comment below, and we'll talk to you on the next one.